We log on for a week, do a quest, listen to dialogue, and hop off, because that's exactly what the game has been for the past few months. Finally, it looks like people are seeing the light. Again, for the third time, that we need a massive expansion drop to save the franchise. Again, who would have thought? Not me. Alright, so in my last video, I told you all that in regards to the Bungie employee layoff situation, if there was new information, then I would make a follow-up video, and that is what today's video is about. I'm sure that many of you are probably tired of hearing about this, but I do think that it is important to talk about, given the circumstance of the game and everything that's going on. Also, I know I look raggedy. I just woke up. I don't really feel like fixing it. I kind of wanted to make this video. So this is courtesy of Paul Tassi. He had interviewed a new Bungie employee, or one of the laid off Bungie employees, and they gave us some new information that is very interesting, gives us a lot more insight than what we previously knew. So let's go ahead and jump into it. New revelations about Destiny 2 declines, Bungie layoffs, and final shape as make or break. Paul Tassi begins by saying, as I continue to investigate this past week at Bungie and the circumstances that led up to mass layoffs and reported delays, I've learned new information to paint a clearer picture. After a lengthy conversation with someone with inside knowledge of the situation, there's new info about how the layoffs happened, staff reaction since then, and the state of Destiny 2 and the final shape. Here's additional context to everything that's happened this week and what's potentially ahead, though of course there are no guarantees with everything in flux now. So starting off with the layoffs. Management said that other levers were looked at to avoid layoffs. When employees asked if one lever was executive compensation, they were told no, and that it would not happen at the company. Definitely don't need to expand on that. Internally, really, no one is blaming Sony for this, even management. Some employees were told that if the Sony buyout did not happen, that with current Destiny 2 performance, the studio itself would have been in jeopardy if they were still independent. This is actually kind of wild to me, considering how many monetization avenues are in this game that they can't really keep it going. I mean, I know that Destiny is an anomaly, right? Like, there's no game that's like Destiny out there. But to see so much, financial issue at this company whenever it comes to what I thought was one of the most profitable games in the world, it's kind of wild to see that they're having this many issues when they're selling things like, a yearly DLC. They're selling these seasons. They're selling dungeon keys. They're selling all these cosmetics every single season for these events in the Eververse. They're selling just general crossover cosmetics in the Eververse. Like, there's so many ways. Campaign skips, like paid transmog. There's so many ways that they have monetized this game. And to see that it's such an issue for them, where if Sony didn't buy them, that they would have went belly up, that's kind of insane for me to hear. They then go on to say that cannot be fully confirmed among every employee, but at least to some, Destiny 2 director Joe Blackburn is not really considered to be one of the corporate culprits here for how things went down. So not many people are pointing blame at Joe Blackburn for being the boogeyman right now. The expensive new building, which, by the way, Bungie was building I think they still are, maybe building a second headquarters. The expensive new building was a separate project that likely would not have saved jobs given the context of when that was drafted and when work started. Similarly, the $1.2 billion in employee retention from Sony was spent long ago, which, by the way, this was money that Sony had given Bungie to make sure that they keep their employees. Often on buying out employees' Bungie shares, which then went to Sony. There's nothing left in that pot to avoid layoffs, which wasn't what it was meant for this late in the transition. The trend line of spending on the game over time made the current year's revenue estimate somewhat logical. So yes, the 45% miss is important and was not necessarily some wildly inflated projection. However nearsighted it ended up being. There's been a real damaging drop post-Lightfall in terms of player engagement/spending, and Lightfall sold very well. And of course, this has to do with the fact that Lightfall, I'm pretty sure, was one of their most sold, if not their most sold, DLC as of yet. And it was bad, like you get a bunch of people to buy a bad product, they're not going to come back and keep playing, or those with sound mental states. Obviously, Destiny 2 mains over here, we're a glutton for punishment and we keep playing the game. But the general player is like, hey man, Lightfall's ass, so we're not going to keep spending money, and that makes sense. The last thing here under the layoffs is that employees are extremely angry with leadership now. Who would have thought? And have often communicated that publicly in meetings. Bets were made that did not pay off, but those who made them remain in the company, a fact lost on no one. Next up, Paul begins talking about the final shape. The final shape delay was known by some a couple months ago, but it is happening late enough where there cannot be a 30th anniversary size drop to split the season, as that took around 8 months to build. There will be something in Season 23's gap, though, no specifics. They want final shape not just to be as good as Forsaken or the Taken King, but better. Hence the good, not great feedback that will be polished during a delay. It needs to be the best, and it's viewed as the key to turning things around. I do think this is really funny how, things have come full circle. Beware of over-delivery. You're creating patterns, and lo and behold, as it's been proven every single time with Destiny in the past, over-delivery is what saves the franchise. Who would have thought? Like with the Taken King, the game was gonna die. The Taken King over-delivered this massive expansion. Oh my gosh, we're so back. Destiny 1, one of the greatest games ever made. Destiny 2 comes out. The game's about to go belly up. Curse of Osiris is bad. Vanilla game is bad. Warmind is, okay. Oh my gosh, Forsaken has come out. This is like the greatest thing ever created. So who would have thought that over-delivery is what is needed to save the game? Like, it makes no sense to me. These people, these higher-ups, these corporate suits, they get so comfortable once the game is finally drifting in the right direction that they lose sight of what makes the game good. And it's those big content drops that innovate on the game and get players excited. We don't want the game to coast in one direction for the rest of its life, where we log on for a week, do a quest, listen to dialogue, and hop off, because that's exactly what the game has been for the past few months. Finally, it looks like people are seeing the light. Again, for the third time, that we need a massive expansion drop to save the franchise. Again, who would have thought? Not me. The Final Shape campaign and features are reportedly quite solid, even in its current state, ahead of planned future work. But they want to go even further, and there is some concern about crunch to make that happen, even with a delay. And finally, here we have Destiny overall. So we went over the layoffs, we went over Final Shape specifically. Now let's talk about the Destiny as we know it as a whole. So part of the new PvP Strike team was impacted by layoffs, but significant progress has been made on the map pack that was promised earlier in the year, and it should not be canceled. No significant changes have been announced to staff for the longer-term future of Destiny 2 plans because of these layoffs and the delay. No known plans to reduce support for D2 below old already planned levels. No new info about the long-term or something like Destiny 3, which I did not get the sense was really on the radar. Next up, the in-game LFG system has been tremendously difficult from a tech perspective and reportedly was announced to the community before the devs themselves. Yeah, leadership, am I right? It is far more complicated than players will understand, even if it seems like it's an obvious thing the game should have. It'll launch, but it's been a tough road. There have been many meetings about microtransactions where many devs wanted to reduce them, but they were always given the reply that they are necessary given how expensive Destiny is to operate, and complaints about new ones don't always reflect reality. Event cards may seem lame, but they sell well, for instance, or you'd be surprised how many people are still buying the oldest expansions that we always say should be free by now. Lastly, is this last? This is last. Lastly, the ultimate goal is very much for Bungie to be a multi-IP studio with multiple games and revenue streams. But even if Marathon is a success, there are likely not plans for some huge mass migration from Destiny team to the Marathon team, abandoning the franchise. And then Paul, of course, ends things off with his own little kind of recap and his own thoughts and everything. But this is the information that we got. there's some crazy new stuff in here, obviously. You know, stuff like management not wanting to take pay cuts and they're laying off people anyways. We have things like if Sony did not buy Bungie, then the studio probably would have went belly up. Joe Blackburn isn't exactly the boogeyman that a lot of people may think that he is. The 45% revenue miss actually wasn't that crazy, and it was something that they definitely should have hit. But they were extremely off because of the performance of things like Lightfall. And of course, employees being angry with leadership, you know, who would have guessed? The final shape delay, we are going to be getting something in Season 23, but we don't know what it's going to be. Obviously, they want the final shape to be as good. Actually, no, they want it to be better than the Taken King and Forsaken. Again, Bungie going back on their plans to over-deliver here. And that the final shape is actually looking pretty good from a feature, you know, and campaign perspective right now. Now, of course, Destiny overall, the PvP strike team was impacted, but the map pack is probably still going to be a thing. No significant changes in plans for Destiny going into the future, regardless of the layoffs. In-game LFG has been very difficult to implement. And yeah, microtransactions aren't going anywhere, and, you know, everybody's not going to be moved to the Marathon team. So yeah, quite the developments here in Destiny 2 land. Very interesting situation that we have ourselves in. Not exactly sure how Bungie is going to accomplish the things that they want to accomplish with, you know, getting some content out in Season 23 to mitigate the fact that there was this massive delay. And I'm not exactly, you know, I'm going to be honest, I have zero faith that the final shape is going to be better than Taken King or Forsaken. But we will see, you know, how that ends up, you know, whenever we get there. But guys, let me know what you all think down in the comments down below. Obviously, I don't really know what to upload, guys. I'm gonna keep it a stack. I have been uploading on another channel. I'm probably gonna be uploading on some alternate channels because I do want to keep this channel Destiny related. Obviously, I'm gonna be covering the Season 23 content and stuff, but I'll probably have like this big announcement video letting you guys know what the future of my channel is gonna be like from a content perspective. So definitely stay tuned for that. But I did want to give you all just an update on what's going on in the general game. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.